lady is someone very heavy ran over to him and gave him a big hug. So much Jew. Okay. Today we're going to start on Daf Yomi, and it's about 7 lines from the top. Rabbi Shmuel Bar B'Yosi. Thank Hashem, we're able to learn every day. Because of our learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. Okay, so we're about to start another story of someone that took a neder, and an interesting way of how it was annulled. Yesterday we had two stories where they asked, who was it? Reb Schreira. They asked him, Reb Nachman asked him, did you have this in mind when you took the neder? He says, yes. Did you have that in mind when you took the neder? He said, yes. He went through a bunch of things. You had this in mind. So Reb Nachman got angry. So Reb Schreira said, I would have known that Reb Nachman would have gotten angry, I wouldn't have annulled the vow, which is an interesting way out. Then we had another one. Who was the next one? Reb Shimon bar Rebbe. The sages looking for the way to annul it had to move from the shade to the sun, from the sun to the shade. He said, if I would have realized that it was going to bother the sages like that, I wouldn't have taken the vow. Okay, so now Rabbi Shmuel bar B'Yosi Havali Nidra L'Mishra. Mishra means to annul, to make mutter. Shari is mutter. Rabbi Shmuel bar B'Yosi, he had a vow that he wanted to annul. Asal l'kamayo derabanan. He came in front of the Rabbanan. Amrulay, so the Rabbanan said, Nedarta dahachi. Did you take a vow? Did you take the vow with this in mind? And did you realize that this and this would be the result, the consequence of your vow? Amaluin, you said, yeah, I thought it through, and I took the vow anyway. Nedarta dahachi. Did you take it with this intention? Amaluin, you said, yeah, I thought it through. So Kama Zimnin, this went through. They did this many times. Even the Chazu Katra the Mitzdairi Rabbanon, since there was Katra launderer. Since there was this launderer that saw that the Rabbanon are getting frustrated. Machi ba'uchla the Katri. So he hit Rabbi Shmuel bar B'Yosi with one of his tools. Uchla the Katri is, I guess it's the strainer. Yeah. What did you call it yesterday? Colander? Colander.
This is your Roman calendar dating back to the 3rd century.
Yeah. In the Gemara, it's not called a colander. And the Gemara's term is not colander. The Gemara says uchla. Uchla, I thought meant the cover. Uchla de dana. It's like a cover to a bucket. But anyway, over here it's a vessel. Whatever the case is, Amar, Sir Bishmal bar B'Yosi says, Adaita de machli katsha le'nadri. I wouldn't to take the consequence of getting hit by the launderer, that I wouldn't have taken the vow. I didn't have that in mind when I took the vow.
Launderer is in like laundry?
Yeah, he does laundry.
Not money laundry.
Right. The dry cleaner. Well, Bashari Lenafshe, and he permitted it on his own. Yeah, we had a discussion yesterday if that meant he permits it on his own, or if if it means that he has a heter that he can use in front of the other rabbanim, or is he allowed to be mater his own neder? That was a question that was brought up yesterday. Well, Amalei Ravacha midifti leRavina. Ravacha midifti says to Ravina much later. Shmuel bar B'Yosi is much earlier. Shmuel bar B'Yosi was a friend of Rebbe. This is Ravina. It's 300 years later. This is the end of the Tanaic period. The order over here is interesting because we started with Reb Schreira, which was in the days of Reb Nachman, went to Reb Shimon bar Rebbe. Now we're going back to Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi was a generation earlier.
Good morning. Sorry. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Hashem.
Okay. Yeah. Baruch Hashem.
So yeah, we're holding in the middle of Chav Gimel and Aleph,
Thanks.
the white lines. So yeah, I'm not sure what the sequence of these stories is. It's definitely not chronological. Well, he asked the question that we've been bringing up the whole time. Hi, Noilatu. This is a new circumstance that came up. What's the rule with this? He never could have known at the time that he took the neder that this was something that was going to happen later. And Tanina, we have a Mishnah. When you matir neder, you can't be matir with something that was impossible to know at the time of the neder. This is Naila. This is a new circumstance. Amalei, he says, "I love Naila too." He says it's actually not Naila. The shchichi afikure the mitzari rabbanan, because there's a lot of people, wild people. I don't know fikure. I don't know how they translate it, but they that will bother the rabbis.
Heretics, really.
Heretics. Okay, heretics that will bother the rabbis. So the fact that he's going to get hit, that was something that was common, and so therefore it's not considered nailed. Now, there's something funny in this. I didn't check the commentaries. So something funny. The person that was hitting him was because he was bothering the rabbis. This wasn't. Well, there's something funny over here. Maybe in those notes or somewhere it's going to say. I didn't look it up. The Ran doesn't say anything.
Here in the notes it just says that if it was a common situation, it could be used as a base up.
Yeah.
And it's an uncommon.
Right. Problem is, okay. So there's people that bother the rabbis. So, but what does that have to do with because of his neder? Had I had known that if I make this neder, I'm going to get hit by someone, I wouldn't have made the neder. But how do you know that whole situation was going to come? Well, it didn't have to be that situation. There's always that people are going around hitting rabbis. That's what it sounds like. So what does it have to do with the neder? It's because of the neder. Had I known that the neder, maybe that's what it means. Maybe since this happens often, and now it happened because of the neder, had I known that the neder would cause this, I wouldn't have made the neder. I guess that's what it means.
But here's the rabbi hit the person.
No. Look at it again. The launderer hit Rav Yishmael bar Rabbi Yossi. Yeah, I guess they hit him because he was a rabbi. But the strange thing is that they hit him because he was bothering the other rabbis, not because he was a rabbi and he bothers rabbis. This fellow bothers rabbis. This fellow protects the rabbis. And this.
Hitting one rabbi on behalf of the other. The guy was also a rabbi. He's hitting a rabbi because he's
Right. Okay. What did they say? Someone went to wherever it was in Poland. He saw the rabbi of this Rebbe was davening. It was like banging in the wall, and then this. It's a German Jew that was saying. He says, to be a rabbi in Poland, it's a schwere Brei. No, it's tough to make a living here. To bang your head in the wall, and Okay. What do you want to say? Hello.
Here says that it's not a new situation. But before that, it says that he could have not thought of that.
Right. Right, that's our answer. Our answer is that it's not a new situation. Okay. The Bisu de Abaya, the wife of Abaya, doesn't tell us which one. You know, Abaya was married to Chayma. Chayma, remember the woman that was very beautiful. And she ended up getting hit by Rava's wife. Remember the story? We had it, I think. Ksubas, I think we had. She came to get her inheritance from Abaya in front of Rava. She came. She was on her third marriage. Abaya held that you're allowed to marry a woman that the first two husbands passed away. He married her. Then, but her sleeve lifted up. It excited Rava when he came home. He had relations with his wife. It was more excited than usual. So Rava's wife ran out after Chaima with a shoe, chasing her out of the city. So doesn't say which wife this is, but here it says Abaya's wife Havala Brata had this daughter from a previous marriage, which maybe this is Chaima, I don't know. Who Amar Lekrivai. Abaya says, I'd like this daughter to marry one of my relatives. He Amra Lekriva. She said, no, I wanted to marry one of my relatives. Amrullah. So Abaya tests her, Titasra Hanasi Alecha Iabdas Adaitai, Uminsavas La Lekrivach.
Here it says that there was an adopted daughter. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe Abaya adopted.
Yeah.
No,
Right,
but it was from
adopted.
his wife's daughter, no? His
I'm
wife also
not sure.
adopted?
No, it just says about Abaya's adopted daughter, but
Okay.
would that be that it was from her previous marriage?
That's what it sounds like. Havala Brata, she had a daughter. It was her daughter.
But if it was her blood daughter, she wouldn't be able to marry the relative? Would this be like a real adoption?
No, it means a
or-
cousin. Doesn't mean a brother, sister. Those days they married cousins. Yeah.
So adopted could mean that if she was from previous wife, or her previous husband.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, well, the adopted part is just the term that they're adding in English. I don't have to accept that.
No, it's on the notes on the side.
Okay.
It says
One second. Before you show that to me, let me just see. It's not in the Taisvus on the page. Maybe they're quoting somewhere else. Taisvus Yishanim, okay. I'm not even sure if that's in my. I don't think I have that here. I have to get another commentary, another book. Yeah. So okay. He tells to his wife. He says, if you dare marry this daughter to one of your relatives, then you're forbidden to have any benefits from me. So a vow. She violated his wishes, and she married the daughter off to her relatives, one of her relatives. Also, the Rav Yosef, he comes in front of Rav Yosef to be Mata Neder. Amar Le, he says, Ilo havi yadata avertal daita chemitzvala lekriva mi adarta. If you would have known that she would have violated the condition, she would have violated this condition that you made up. Would you have made this vow? So Amar Le, he says, no, I wouldn't have. I did it to stop her, not because I wanted. I just didn't want it to do it. So that's why I made the vow. So Vishai Rabbi Yosef permitted it. Rabbi Yosef was a biased teacher. The Gemara asks, Umishari ki agavna? Is that an acceptable way to get out of a vow? That was the whole point of the vow. He took the vow because he didn't want it, but every time it doesn't work out the way that you like it, so then you get out of the vow. I mean, the vow, he said that if this happened, it's like someone making a bet. and saying that, well, the reason why I said it is because I was expecting to win. Well, that's the whole point. You took the bet. I mean, now you're in trouble.
Also, you also say, "Oh, I didn't mean."
Right. So the Gemara says yes, that by a neder it's acceptable. Vahatanya, and we even have a brisa that supports it. Over here, Vahatanya is the Viha is, and this is a brisa that supports it, but we have a brisa, and this is a brisa that supports it. Usually, if we had Rashi here, Rashi would spell that out. Rashi would we say Vahatanya b'nichusa or something. Rashi would tell us otherwise. Usually, Vahatanya doesn't mean this. Vahatanya ma'aseh the mechad shiddur sishtei milalis l'regel. Person that took a vow that his wife can have benefit from him if she goes up to the base of Mikdash. The women don't have to go to the base of Mikdash, only the men. Women go to Hakel, but not to the base of Mikdash. It's today's Rambam, actually. But overall, Daitay, also the regal. She violated his wishes and she went to the base of Mikdash. Balafnei Rabbi Yossi comes to Rabbi Yossi. Yossi was around during the base of Mikdash. Yossi is a student of Rabbi Akiva. Maybe the very, very end. Maybe the very end of the base of Mikdash. Or maybe they were still being Oile Regel. Is it possible they were Oile Regel after the base of Mikdash was destroyed? Maybe there was some concept of still going. I don't know. Amr Lai. And I'm only using the commentaries on the page. There's a lot to research here. Rabbi Akiva was. Rabbi Akiva, no. Rabbi Akiva's teachers were. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua. They were around by the destruction. They were students of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was the teacher by the destruction of the temple. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua were there. Now Rabbi Akiva was a student of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. And Rabbi Yossi is a student of Rabbi Akiva. I don't know, it's way later. It's 50 years later, Balafnei Rabbi Yossi. If you would have known that she was going to violate your wishes and be a regal, would you have made the neder? Amalai, you said no. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yossi permitted it. You see, even though the whole neder was that if you dare do this, then I'm going to forbid all benefit on you. You're going to be forbidden, and then the person violates that condition. They say, "Oh, I only took the neder because I thought you were going to listen to me. I didn't know you weren't going to listen."
How is this different from what we learned before that they made the opening, but they knew that what the answer was going to be? It was kind of like a rhetorical.
Yeah.
It sounds like the same.
Well, which specific case are you referring to?
The one that where the rabbi kind of like left the rabbi knew that
That was something else. Those were those were questions that we had yesterday. All those questions where he said, would you have known that if you take the vow, there's Gehenna and all of that? So the person has to respond.
Not that one. The one day, I think it was the day before, that it was where the rabbi asked the person, they kind of like made an opening that everybody knows that they will say yes, which is kind of sounds to me the same as this.
No, because over there, when he said that you would say yes, that's because we don't really know what he's saying now. He's saying yes in front of them. But that's not telling me what his real intention was at the time of the vow. Here we're asking him, would you have forbade her from getting benefit if you knew that she was going to violate it? And he sincerely says no.
Oh, okay.
He's sincerely saying no, that it's not that he's answering what they want him to say, but back then he would have said differently.
Here we knew what his original intent was.
Right.
And in that case, we're afraid that he would change it in order to be able to annul.
Right. Exactly. Well, not in order to be able to null, or maybe just because he doesn't want to look bad in their eyes, but it's not telling us what he really meant.
Is this significant? Do you think that these examples in the context of a marriage
So that's interesting.
be in trouble if every time a spouse says something?
Yesterday that came into play. We said that because it was a marriage, because of shalom bias. Or 2 days ago we had that. 2 days ago we had shalom bias was a major player. Okay, the Ran. We're up to the Mishnah on 23. The Ran has a interesting question. He says, this seems to be a regular Nidre Zeruzim, a vow that someone takes to encourage someone, which we said does not need to be nullified. What was the example over there by the Nidre Zeruzim? He said that if the seller says, I'm never going less than a seller, 4 coins, and the buyer says, well, I'm not paying a penny more than 2. And then they each, the buyer says 3 and the seller agrees. You know, so we say that that's not considered a vow because he was just trying to encourage. So here also, when he tells his wife, if you dare go up to Eiler Regel, then you're never going to be allowed to have benefit from me. He was just trying to encourage her. So why do we even have to annul it? Here we're saying, oh, we looked for a loophole, we're able to annul it. By over there, they didn't even have to annul it. It was a vow just to encourage, to motivate the person to go higher in price or lower in price, whatever.
So as to be dependent on.
It's Ron's question. Yeah.
Can I say something last
Yeah.
set? The other day, I was telling my wife how much something cost, and I told my son, go elsewhere. And I said, my friend went there and he paid $500 for it. This true story. So my wife said $500, which was like grossly disparate from the other price. So she goes, are you sure it was $500? So then I text my friend, he goes back and says $750. So I came back to her and said, likely in the Gemara we're discussing that when a person says a number, it's not necessarily that number. It's like, they're hodling, this and that. But it was like, I felt the reality of, you got to be careful with what number you say. So here we discuss sometimes the number means the number, and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Really?
Right. Now listen to this. What the Ran gives an answer to this. He says that over there, even originally, he never really meant not a penny less than a seller. And the person never really meant to say, I'm not paying more than 2 coins. That's the way there's these words that they shoot out in the marketplace. And they make believe that they're serious, but they're really not serious. That it's just the way of negotiating, right? In the I don't know, I don't do this with it, but in the shuk, I'm sure they're like storming out, and they know they really have another price in their mind. So over there, because you don't have Pivali by Shabin, his mouth is not the same. It's not the same as his heart. What he said is not really what he means. So therefore, that doesn't even need a heter. But over here, he was really serious at the time. He just thought that it's going to work. But what we're saying now is that if he would have known that it really wasn't going to work, he wouldn't have said that. And then there's a. Okay. Let me add in another point to there. We had a Gemara where someone wants his friend to eat by him. And he says, if you don't eat by me, forbids benefit on him if he doesn't eat, if he doesn't come to eat by him. So but there, the person doesn't come, and he doesn't need a hataras nedarim because he was just trying to encourage him to come. So this also looks very similar to this case where he wants his wife not to go, but she goes, but over here he does need a hataras nedarim. He does need to annul it. So the Ran here says that you can't compare the kapeda, like the anger or the frustration that he has when his friend doesn't come to eat by him, to when his wife violates his words and goes up. But over there, he was just trying to get his friend to come to sit with him, to eat with him. But over here, it's much more serious. He was really intent. He really had intent with this. That's why he needs a hataras nedarim. There's another point over here. Yeah, same thing. That's also called nidrei zruzim. Right. That's just a negotiating tactic. How does a hataras nedarim work? So the Ran quotes a machlekes between the Rambam, the Ramban, and the Ramban. The Ramban and the Rambam. Okay. The Ramban says that it's a discussion about can you use one individual to annul a vow? A great sage. Can you get just one, or do you always need three? So it turns out that there's a machlekes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda. And there's two ways of reading the Gemara. And the Ran goes through these two ways of reading just one phrase in the Gemara. But what works out is like this, that according to the Ramban, you can only use one sage if he has smicha going back, a real smicha, from Moshe Rabbeinu. Otherwise, you need three. Now, one of those three, according to Rabbi Yehuda, needs to be a scholar, Gomer v'Saver, and the other two do not need to be. And he explains to them what he's doing. They have to be able to understand what they're doing. And according to the Rabbanan, 3 hadyatis is enough. You don't need to have the sage for that. That's the Ramban. The Rambam says, no, you don't need to have smicha to do it with one. It could be just the great sage can also be matineder just on his own. Or you have the 3, like Rabbi Yehuda, with 3, either together with the sage, or according to Rabbi Yehuda, or 3 without, according to the Rabbanan. But the according to the Rambam, you can still use one sage that doesn't have smicha ishmi piyash. Let's take a look at the Mishnah now. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Aimer. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, okay, we mentioned this. We just mentioned this, that this is considered nidrei's reason. I was looking in the back. It's right here. If someone wants his friend to eat by him, he says he's taking a vow. You don't eat by me. This and this is prohibited to you, or whatever. It's not a real vow. It's considered nidrei's reason, zruzim. Okay. Now, if you read the Mishnah literally, what the Mishnah says is like this. Even someone operates even someone wants his friend to eat by him. So he says, if you don't eat by me, you're forbidden to have any benefit from me. You should say to him, any vow that I'm about to take should be nullified. Then he takes the vow that if you don't eat by me, you're going to not be allowed to have benefits from me. As long as he remembers that when he's taking the vow that he made the stipulation before that all future vows are going to be nullified. Now, there's a huge problem with this Mishnah. I mean, it doesn't make sense from beginning to end. So the Gemara is going to challenge this. We're going to reread the Mishnah. It's going to mean something totally different. Okay, you ready? It says, what was this going on over here? He tells him, it says like this, what I'm about to say is meaningless. You ready? if you dare not come eat by me, then you're never going to be able to have any benefit from me again. That's meaningless. Okay, now please come eat by me. Right? So he says, why is he going to listen? But you just told him that what you're saying is meaningless. Where it says, the Mishnah is missing words. You have to read it like this. What did we learn in the last Mishnah about the 4 types of Nedarim that do not need a Hataras Nedarim? One of them was Nidri's Yuzim, when you're trying to encourage someone and to sell something, to buy something for a higher price, or to sell something for a lower price. So Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov adds in that if you want your friend to come eat by you, and you take a vow that if you don't come, you can't have benefits from me. So that's also Nidri Zuzim, and you don't need Hataras Nedarim. It's a continuation of the last Mishnah. Next point. Someone that doesn't want his vows to last all year. In other words, he knows that he takes vows too often. He's too quick to take a vow. So he says, I would need to stop this. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make right now a statement that all the vows that I'm going to make the rest of the year are null and void. So he says, Yamid Rosh Hashanah, on Rosh Hashanah, you should get up and say, every vow that I'm going to take should be nullified. As long as he remembers when he's taking the neder that he had made that is that a stipulation? What do you call that? He made that stipulation beforehand that any vow that he's going to take later doesn't work, so then that's going to be fine. Gemara asks, what are you saying? If he remembers the stipulation and he's nevertheless taking the vow, then he's uprooting the stipulation. He's saying, now I'm taking off the stipulation, now I'm making a real vow. If he didn't remember it, so then we would say, oh, this is exactly what he meant when he took the stipulation, that he gets into these moods and he's going to take a vow. So he stops it from beforehand. It says that it's null. But if he remembers it, then it should be taking away the stipulation and the vow should be effective.
Does Kol Nidre cover all
We're going to
the
get to
vows
that
for
in a
the
second.
future?
We're going to get to that in a second. One second. So let's get the answer. Let's get the answer to Avabaya. Amar Abaya, Tani Ubulvad Shaloye Zacher B'Shasa Neder. Read it like this: as long as he doesn't remember at the time of the neder. Okay, we'll do Rav in a second. I just want to go back and read the Mishnah again, so you follow what happened there. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Eimer, we'll look at the Mishnah. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Eimer, Afaretz Lahader Schaver Sheikh Letzlei. You have to put a big period over there. That's the end of the sentence. This is really a continuation from the last Mishnah, and now the last Mishnah is over. What's the last Mishnah was Nidre's Yuzim. Someone was negotiating a price. And I'll give you another example. If someone wants his friend to eat by him, he's just encouraging him to eat by him. Next case. Yoimar, the Bach takes out the word loy, which helps us out a lot. Yoimar, kol neder shani asad lider hu batal. Missing a phrase over there. Phrase is that anyone that wants that his nedarim shouldn't exist all year should say that any neder that I'm going to take is batal. Now, Bilvad, according to Abaya, shelo yehi zacher b'shas neder. As long as he doesn't have that in mind, I'm adding in the word shalai. As long as he doesn't have that in mind when he takes the neder. Okay, got it? To see why the Mishnah is so cryptic in a moment. Let's eat, kids. Okay. 2 points over here that are very, very interesting. Let's do Rava first, and then we'll get into that. Rava Amar Lailam Kedamrin Mikara. Rava says it's actually the way we said that it has to be that if he remembers that he made a stipulation, then the neder that he makes now is null. If he doesn't remember the stipulation, getting into trouble here. If he doesn't remember the stipulation, he agrees with Abaya that it's also null. If he remembers, it's null, and if he doesn't remember, it's also null. So what are we saying? Is so long as. What's going to happen now is that if he does remember the stipulation, then there's two options.
He does.
If he does, we'll see in a second. Rav Amar Lo'ilam Kedamin Mikar. Really, it's that we're talking about he's remembering the stipulation. He remembers that he said on Rosh Hashanah that his Nedarim are nothing. Well, on Rosh Hashanah, he didn't say all my Nedarim. He said, if I ever take a neder that I'm not going to drink wine or I'm not going to eat meat, that should be nullified. I get into a habit of taking that neder. I don't want that neder. Well, but he doesn't remember which detail he took that stipulation. He doesn't remember which detail it was. Was it the wine? Was it the meat? Was it? I knew I said something that a neder shouldn't work. Right now, he's just having a forgetful moment. He doesn't remember what it is. He didn't say kol. He didn't say kol nidre. He said the nedarim that are associated with this and that, he's not accepting. Now he takes a neder, exactly that thing. Now, he says, if he remembers that he took that neder, and then he adds in, and he says, if he remembers that he made that stipulation, and now he's taking a neder, he says that if this is what I said originally, that it shouldn't work, I'm taking the neder now, so that it shouldn't work. So nidra less be masha, then the neder doesn't work. It has no substance. But if he doesn't say that I'm doing it, having that in mind, that it shouldn't work, if this is the neder that I made up before that it shouldn't work, then then his neder does take effect. Because he knew that he had a stipulation, and he's not including that stipulation into this new neder, into the neder that he's taking now. So what he's really doing is uprooting the stipulation. Now, I know that I had a stipulation, but nevertheless, I'm taking the neder. Not, and therefore I'm taking the neder. Nevertheless, I'm taking the neder, which means it should uproot it. Now, the Ran speaks out that Abaya would agree, that Rava would agree to Abaya that if he doesn't remember that he made a stipulation, then the stipulation works. It's only when he remembers it, maybe he's uprooting it, maybe he's not. And then he doesn't say that he's taking that into account, so then it's considered that he uprooted it. Okay, let me read one more piece, and then we'll talk about Kol Nidre.
Thinking about the other one, that where you tell your friend, like, this vow is not going to count, and then you still take the vow. What is the point of it?
Oh, so we stopped that. We got rid of that. What we did here was when you tell your friend that you're taking a vow, you're not telling him that any vows that you make don't count. That's why we put a period in the we stopped that sentence in the middle, and now there's two different sentences. And the first sentence is going back on what we learned in the previous Mishnah, that such a vow, when you want your friend to eat by you, doesn't even need a Taras Nadar. Next sentence is, if someone doesn't want his vows to work all year, then he should say this. Nothing to do with what he tells his friend. Okay, let's take a look just a little bit further. It says, Rav Huna bar Chinna sava l'midrashay b'pirka. Rav Huna bar Chinna wanted to teach this in public. He's going to say that, guys, you want to get rid of your vows, they shouldn't take effect. I have a solution for you. So, Amalei Rava, Tanaka mastim le stume, kadesh le yinagu kalas reish b'nedarim, but jarashta le b'pirka. The Tana made the Mishnah into a chsuri mechsra v'hachiktani. The Mishnah is missing words, and we have to add in words to make it make sense. Why did it do that? The reason for, I've never seen another explanation like this, where we have a pshat in chsuri mechsra. Why did it do it like that? Why did it make it so cryptic? Because he doesn't want people to take nedarim lightly. I'll say, okay, for the rest of my life, no nedarim should work. And then they're not going to know. They got rid of it. They didn't get rid of it. They remembered it. They took it away. There's so many details now that can come into place. Everyone's going to say, "Oh no, it's not a problem. I sold my chametz." It's everything is mutter. There's an erev here. So So they made it cryptic specifically so that people shouldn't really get that message from that Mishnah, although that the
Is
Mishnah is
cryptic
correct.
also when it speaks about those other examples you gave, like,
No. No, that it said. Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Call me Dre, he's saying for the Nedarim for the future. Right?
1 second before you get into that. 1 second. Now, the Ran says, first of all, that we pass him like Rava. That's not much of a chiddush. But Rava agrees to Abaya that if he doesn't remember the stipulation, it's going to work. But nevertheless, we pass him like Rava that if he does remember the neder, then he would have to make sure that he includes the stipulation that he says that al das. I'm saying this with the intention of the stipulation. Okay, now the Ran quotes Rabbeinu Tam. And actually, instead of looking at the Ran, we have this big Tosfos over here. See the Tosfos on the side? It says, originally, what it said in the Machzor, in Kol Nidre, was Miyomi Kippurim She'avar Ad Yema Kippurim Haba Leino L'Toiva. From last year to this year, we're being Matan Neder. He says that's a big problem. He says, first of all, how do you get rid of a neder like that? You need to have charata. You need to recognize the neder. You have to have a Pesach. To get out. If I would have known at the time, I went to, and also, you need 3 people. Well, you have 3 people there. That's not a real question. Right. And tzarech lefaret neder. You have to express which neder it was. And just say I took a stam neder. You have to say what it was. And then the person himself that took the neder can't annul it. So the Rabbeinu Tam adjusted the wording of the Machzorim that says Miyom Kippurim zeh ad Yom Kippurim haba leino l'toiva. From this Yom Kippur till next Yom Kippur. And he adds in that Rava would agree to Abaya that if he doesn't remember the stipulation, then it's going to work. Okay. He has a bunch of questions on the words. He has another point. He says they used to add in a stipulation. They used to add in one detail. They used to say chutz mitakanas kilas shvuas bezdin. Because they thought they said we're not annulling vows that you took to the community, and we're not annulling vows that you took in court, because they thought that it was talking about annulling previous vows. He said, but that's all not necessary, because we're only annulling vows of the future, and any vows that you make to someone else doesn't get annulled by this. It's only vows that you take between you and yourself. That's the only thing that it's going to work for. And then he adds in V'nislach l'chol hadas that we say right afterwards. If he doesn't remember this condition, takes a vow, and he thinks that the vow exists because he doesn't remember that on Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah he said Kol Nidre. And then he goes and he violates the vow, knowing that he took a vow, not knowing that the vow doesn't work. So he still needs kapara, just like we have in the Parsha in Matis, where it says, Hashem Yislach La, if the husband annulled the wife's vow, she thinks that it's still there and she violates it anyway. She needs a kapara because her intention was to violate a vow. Intention to do an Aveira needs a kapara, just like it would have been an action without intention. Yeah, okay. Then he just adds in that it would work for Shavuos as well.
Yeah. We say call me Dre Yom Kippur, right? Even though we keep on referring to
Rosh Hashanah, yeah.
Okay. Hataras Nedarim we don't do till days later.
Hataras Nedarim
Why
was
do we need Hataras
Hataras Nedarim was for the past. Although at the end of Hataras Nedarim,
covered the
oh, why do you have to
future
do it
for us?
every year?
Why do we need the Hataras Nedarim? Excuse me?
Maybe you didn't say Kol Nidre.
If that's the case, why don't we say Hataras Nedarim right, Erev Yom Kippur. I mean, the timing just.
And they window to make promises.
You understand?
Yeah.
I mean, we're
That's
so
just-
concerned asking all these questions, this and that, and yet he has this out, the Taurus and the Durham, but the timing of the Taurus and the Durham doesn't sound right. It's coming after, he's saying Kol Nidre for next year, you're saying it's for last year, well, there's a gap in between, or is he planning, oh, you know what? For the next 10 days.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the question is,
Well,
I guess what you're asking is like this. Let me rephrase.
There is a span when you can do it.
Yeah, there's 2 points. First of all, there's never really going to be a neder that's going to exist because we say kol nidre. So whether he remembers the stipulation or he doesn't remember the stipulation, if he remembers the stipulation, if he remembers that he said kol nidre, and he takes a neder anyway, then he's uprooting the whole kol nidre. It's only if he forgets that he said kol nidre, then it's going to work. So therefore, you have to say ataras nedarim, because there could be an instance where kol nidre didn't work, and so you say ataras nedarim before Rosh Hashanah. The question is, why don't you say ataras nedarim right before? I guess we want to get clean by Rosh Hashanah because we're about to go to the Yom Adin, so we say it before Rosh Hashanah. Why don't we do ataras nedarim by Rosh Hashanah? Why don't we do kol nidre by Rosh Hashanah instead of Yom Kippur? And that way it will cover. Oh, Ad Yom Kippurim Haba, we anyways have it. Anyways, Ad Yom Kippurim Haba, it covers Rosh Hashanah as well. It covers until then. That's not a problem. It's not like you have a 10-day loophole. Right. Right.
Rabbi.
Another way, yeah.
No, in shul, there's a friend, who gave tzedakah without a nether, 3 times, 3 years. This year he's not able to do it. Does he need to do Hatar Nedarim?
I don't know. You have to ask don't ask the rabbi of that shul. Go to a rabbi of a different shul. I don't know. I don't know the halachas.
Who decided he's not able?
Right. He's not able. The question is if he has to borrow. Maybe he was only doing it because he thought because he was able. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, he's able. Hashem will take care of it.
He should be able. He should give him a bracha. He should be able to.
Amen.
Okay. Have a good day, everyone. Tzlacha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you very much. Have a good day.